Imagine this. You're an ex-military, well-trained bodyguard. This particular evening, you're guarding a high-ranking dignitary who's visiting the USA. You stop underneath a bridge at a street light, and you're distracted from the road for a moment as you notice a bright light in the sky. You follow this light with your eyes until you see it leading towards an unidentified flying object. You don't believe your eyes. You can't believe what you're seeing. It's nothing like you've ever seen before in your entire life. And then, as you are staring at this beam of light, it leads your eyes towards a building, an apartment. And from that apartment materializes a young woman, floating along this beam of light. She has a peaceful look on her face, and with her are 3 little green men who you instantly recognize because of their resemblance to what you understand aliens to look like. Until this moment, you always thought that aliens were fiction. But now, as you see this event before your eyes, you realize they're real. As the days and weeks go by, this woman becomes your obsession. You wonder, is she human? Or is she too an alien, living amongst us, disguised as a human being? This obsession in you might grow and grow until at one point you even abduct this lady. And under duress, you demand that she proves to you that she is human. Thank you for watching Murder, Monsters, and Mysteries. Today we take a look at the abduction of Linda Napolitano. This story was mostly reported on by Bud Hopkins, who lived 1931 to 2011. He was a New York-based painter associated with abstract expressionism before he became known in UFO circles. His reputation in ufology grew to the point that many later abduction researchers, like Whitley Strieber and psychiatrist John Mack, cited him as a major influence.
We lived in a town where nothing ever happens. Nothing until today. This is the day it all went crazy.
No, I just saw Tom. I don't think so.
Is there somebody in there?
Dude!
Stanley, I got a phobia of clowns.
If there was a maniac running around killing people, don't you think the officers you spoke to earlier would see that?
Does he know? He suspects.
Hopkins reported seeing a daytime UFO near Cape Cod in 1964, which pushed him to start reading about the UFOs and interviewing witnesses. In 1975, he investigated a case in North Hudson Park, New Jersey, involving a witness who claimed to see beings exit a craft and take soil samples, an incident that effectively launched his abduction work. Hopkins collected large numbers of accounts from people reporting missing time and other odd experiences, and he increasingly focused on abduction narratives recovered or expanded under hypnosis. He believed recurring elements, bedroom visitations, paralysis, medical-style exams, reproductive procedures, and small gray beings indicated a structured program rather than random encounters. He often pointed to unexplained scars or scoop marks on the bodies, reports of implants, and ground traces at alleged landing sites. Hopkins wrote several books on the subject. Many people in the UFO field find Bud Hopkins to be a very reliable source of information and investigation, which may help increase him as being viewed as a credible source. This case is famous but highly contested. Of alien abduction from 1989. On the night of 30th November 1989, New York housewife Linda Napolitano claimed she woke up in her 12th floor Lower Manhattan apartment, found herself paralyzed, and saw 3 small gray humanoid beings at the foot of her bed. She said a blue beam of light then lifted her, still in her nightgown, out through her closed window into a reddish-orange UFO that hovered near the Brooklyn Bridge. Inside the craft, she reported being placed on a table and subjected to medical-style examinations, and having a metallic device painfully inserted up her nose. She later said she discovered a small lump near the side of her nose, and an X-ray reportedly showed a tiny foreign object there, which UFO investigator Bud Hopkins touted as a possible implant. Ufologist Bud Hopkins took up her case in the early 1990s and made it central to his book about the so-called Brooklyn Bridge abduction, calling it the abduction case of the century. Hopkins claimed he eventually identified around 20 to 24 witnesses who saw a woman and 3 small figures floating in a beam of light from a high rise toward a UFO near the bridge. Key parts of the story revolve around 2 men using the pseudonyms Richard and Dan, who wrote letters to Hopkins saying that they were security officers in a car under the FDR Drive that night. They claim they saw the woman and alien figures in the sky and were racked with guilt for not helping her, and later implied that they were actually bodyguards for an unnamed world leader visiting New York, widely rumored to be UN Secretary General Javier Perez de Cuellar. Hopkins said all witnesses were anonymized in his book, and none of them, including the supposed foreign dignitary, have ever come forward with verifiable identities or documentation. According to Hopkins and Napolitano, contact with Richard and Dan escalated in disturbing ways. They allegedly tracked down Napolitano, visited her apartment, and became emotional upon confirming she was alive. Dan was said to grow obsessed, surveilling her from a white van and later abducting her twice in 1991. Once to interrogate her in a car, making her remove her shoes to check if she was human, and a second time to a Long Island beach house where he demanded she wear a white nightgown and tried to initiate sex, calling her his Lady of the Sand. Napolitano said she escaped from the beach house, and Hopkins reported these incidents as real-world corroboration of the psychological impact of the 1989 event. Napolitano reported a small bump on the side of her nose after the initial experience, and Hopkins arranged for an X-ray that, he said, showed a small foreign body inside the nasal area, which he called a radiological smoking gun. When a specialist allegedly attempted to remove it surgically, Hopkins and Napolitano claimed that the object had mysteriously vanished before extraction, either removed by the aliens or dissolved. No peer-reviewed medical report, preserved specimen, or independently verifiable imaging data has been produced publicly that would allow outside experts to reevaluate the supposed object. Skeptics argue that the case is built on an uncorroborated testimony, hypnotic regressions, and anonymous letters, all of which are vulnerable to suggestion, fabrication, or misinterpretation. Hypnosis in particular is widely criticized as unreliable for recovering factual memory, especially in emotionally charged or high expectation settings. According to accounts of the case, the sequence usually described is: Hopkins publishes or discusses the basic Napolitano story, which is that of a woman levitated from her apartment into a UFO near the bridge. Months later, he receives an anonymous letter from Richard saying he and a partner saw a woman and 3 small beings in bright light above the East River that night, and had been traumatized by what they saw. A second letter from Dan arrives, reinforcing the story and adding details, such as them having been assigned to a high-level diplomatic security detail that appeared to dovetail with Napolitano's time, place, and description. These letters are often presented by believers as independent corroboration, but the sender's real identities, employers, or exact posts are never publicly confirmed, and no official documentation has ever surfaced to back their claims. So what do you think, guys? Can we trust Hopkins, the investigator, the anonymous letters, or the witnesses that he says he's had contact with? Can we trust that the Linda Napolitano case is genuine? If it is, Bud would be correct in saying that it is the abduction case of the century. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you for watching Murder, Monsters, and Mysteries. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, as we'll be posting more regularly.